Well, hey everybody, and welcome to Painting with Flight Medic. Today we're going to be finishing up the Rocinanti, and what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and weather him. So I know that you haven't seen this yet. I have been we start out with rust colors, undertones. We use a gloss coat to seal it, and then what we'll do is go ahead and use hairspray and then paint over it normally. So this is what we have so far. Something nice. Looks like it's painted, ready to go, but it definitely needs some weathering. So we're going to do a few things. First and foremost is we are going to take a few of our Q-tips. You can use coffee stirrers, anything circular, and what we basically want to do is create a tip on it. What we're going to do is use that for is the actual chipping. So we'll go ahead and kind of get that to where it'll do something good. So take your Q-tip, if you have one, kind of cut it just like that. Right, next thing we need is we need water. That's why we used the hairspray. The hairspray is water soluble. So what we're going to do is look at our model and decide where our rust is going to be. We're just going to kind of get it wet. So if we do this right, you can start to see paint is already coming off. So we'll just wet a little bit at a time because we don't want to get it too wet. We don't want too much paint coming off of this. And we can literally just take our brush and make scratches in the paint. So I hope you can see this. This is kind of a test here. I'm going to be really, really gentle because we just want to get down to that coat. Let's see if we can zoom in on that a little bit. Let's get it underneath the light here, and let's see if we can zoom in. So you can already tell that we're making a pretty good difference. Okay. So let's go ahead and get some rust going on here. Especially want to make sure that we get it right around the edges. Things that are going to start rusting, just like on your car or motorboats. You're always going to see the biggest rust issues right around where your joints are. We'll do a little bit all over here. Just remember, we're going for realism. We don't want to remove all the paint. Maybe there's a big old scratch. Yeah, some dents here and there. Let that paint really get wet. You can kind of see it just flaking right off even with just this little brush right here. And we don't want that big of splotches. Maybe just a couple of scratches here and there. Okay. When we're done with that, we want to dry it off. We want to stop that paint from taking any more with it. So just pat it dry. It's usually good enough. We'll just kind of work around the entire model. Just let it get wet. You can actually even see the paint changing color a little bit here as the hairspray underneath it dissolves. And that'll bring us down to our undercoat. So we want to get it pretty good and crusty here. Really let that beautiful undertone of browns and into oranges really kind of shine through. You know, let's make it look like nobody really wanted to take care of this bad boy. And we especially want it around the sides of these hatch plates, things like that. So for this one, we're going to make it extremely rusted out. So we're even going to go into at the top of his head here, the sides on these. I want to get that gold. Places that you would typically see strike patterns, things like that. I'll leave off the green on there just to let people know what it used to look like when it was factory fresh. Just remember, you can go overboard on this, so you really do want to be careful. So when we look at it, right now that might look a little bit crazy, but we're still going to use some washes and things to really get that going. So again, just take a little bit of water on a brush, just brush through, nice and easy. Parts that you're actually going to want to rust, so I want more of a good tip on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this hand right here. Again, let's take our little chipping tool, make it as big or as low as you want. You really want to focus in on the edges. That's where rust kind of starts. Maybe a little bit up here, and that's okay. Absolutely around the corners. You don't want to make it look too even. Wrong way. Come back out just a little bit more. Beautiful. Let's get it underneath the lens so you can see what we're doing. Again, I want to focus on the pieces that are going to be the corners, the edges, things like that. Get them good and rusted. I was debating on the sword here, but you know what? I think it's definitely worth rusting. So because this is a Vallejo model Air, it's going to be a little bit harder to get underneath that paint. So we're going to water it up and let it sit for just a second. And definitely the tips. Want those pretty good and rusted out. Like it's taking a beating. Nobody's particularly cared for it. Just, make it look like rust. There we go. Yeah, we just do like rust would do. We tax the edges, any open spots. For those of you that live in colder climates, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Again, just real gentle. We can scratch down to the gray underneath if we're not careful. So. Again, we just kind of want to make it randomized. Not terrible. And we definitely want to leave just a little bit of the silver still on there. So let's see if we can see that pretty good. Fantastic looking. Okay. So we also want to definitely want to get his hands, seeing as those are going to be taking a pretty good beating, right? Hands, we're really going to kind of go towards the edges. And just a little bit inside there. Not too much, just enough. Don't forget to dry it off when you're done. And do the other side. And if you've done this right, you're going to have different shades of brown into everything else. That's really what we kind of want to achieve. We want it to make like real rust. And if you've ever seen real rust, which I'm sure you have, you'll notice that. Lots of different colors. Do the same thing on the gun. This ginormous looking piece of hardware here. And again with the Vallejo metallics, you gotta really get that thing soaked in to get it to work. Turn it around so you can see it. Beautiful. And what we'll do is we'll just kind of get some scratches, just like that. Just kind of look like it's been beat up a little. I think you've seen better days. Again, make sure to get all your edges really well. Edges are what tells the tale of rust. Beautifully done. Same thing on the shoulder pads and the arms. And we're just going to keep doing this. You can see that darker color coming out on the back. Again, with the silvers, we just kind of want to get it scratched up. Not terribly hard, just enough. Beautiful, right? especially important for legs and things that are going to be close to the ground. And go just a little bit heavier and make sure that the bottoms and the sides are pretty well covered here. Just like that. Have something that looks like that. So we've got a pretty good rusted. We still need to do the back here. We're going to do this mostly with washes. We want to get that really well down. So we will be back shortly and we will take care of the rest.